Hi, we're going to talk about a experience that is probably one of more vulnerable conversation for us, but also a really strengthening moment in our marriage.
Yeah. So, man, I'm like so nervous to talk about this, but um, it's something we feel really important. I feel like it's really important. So, a few years ago, I started to notice that there was this person in my life, a man that was not Shane. This was after we were married, and I really enjoyed this person's company. We would like talk a lot, laugh a lot. We had really similar senses of humor, and I like didn't think anything of it because it was like fine for a while. And then there's I started noticing that we were just like connecting on a deeper level, and we just like agreed on a lot of things. And then one day we were talking, and I ran into this person, and we said something. He like said like, "How's your day?" or something like really simple, and we both started laughing, and like we both kind of got like flushed, like red in the face, and I was like, "Whoa, I think we're like flirting," like. Because that's kind of what happens when you're flirting. You laugh about like nonsense, like, "Hey, how are you?" Hi, like I don't know. It made me like really nervous. And then I noticed it kind of just kept happening. Like when we were in group settings, we'd kind of both seek each other out, and like just we were just like connecting a lot. And that was one person, and then there was another person that this was happening with too. And it just kind of started to scare me because I remembered people telling me a long time ago that like almost all affairs, like sexual affairs, they start as an emotional affair. Like you start having this emotional connection with somebody, and that's where it starts, and then it grows into the sexual affair. And so I wanted to read what an emotional affair was in case anybody was unfamiliar with what it was. And this definition, I just Googled it, but it says an emotional affair is when a person not only invests more of their emotional energy outside their marriage, but also receives emotional support and companionship from the new relationship. In an emotional affair, a person feels closer to the other party and may experience increasing sexual tension or chemistry. And that is exactly what was happening with this person. And and so I knew I didn't want to have an affair because I love Shane a lot, and we have something super amazing. And I knew I needed to tell him. And so one day I like got up the guts, and we'd had previous experiences where we've shared like mistakes with each other, or we've shared personal things, which I think laid the foundation for us being able to have this conversation. But I came to him and I said, "Hey, Shane, I want to tell you about this situation because I don't want it to grow. And I think it's just important to say it and to acknowledge that it is what it is." And then I told him, I said, "There's these two people that I've been interacting with, and I can tell that we're forming this really strong emotional connection. We just like there's this chemistry between us, and that like sexual tension was like starting to form, like that weird like flirting, like getting excited to see them, like all of those things." And so I told him, and he was a champ at responding. And how did you feel? I don't know. Do you want to take it from here?
Yeah, so I think being in that situation, it's obviously not what you want to hear. And this is a similar thing, whether it's something like this or if it's later on down the line, someone saying that they had an actual affair or they have an addiction or they've fallen on XYZ sin, whatever it is, um, it's hard to not
Be hurt.
be hurt by it. And it's okay to be hurt by it, but I think the response, especially initially, is so important to do it well so that you're set up for future success together. Um,
For example, he responded so well. Like when I told him, he was like, okay, all right, okay. He wasn't like, what? Why don't you love me? Why don't you like me? Like, why do you like them more than me? Like, he didn't get defensive. He just was like, okay, okay. Like, he was really good at responding to it.
Yeah, and I think there's kind of a couple principles. The first is, I think, to really know that the fact that she was telling me about this experience was a super positive thing. Like, I knew because she was sharing this with me that she didn't want this to keep happening, and she wanted to do something about it, and she trusted me that I would respond with love. Like, that's a hard thing to tell somebody, that, hey, I'm having an emotional relationship that I feel has gotten inappropriate, and is heading in the wrong direction. That's a super hard thing to say. And so that's kind of the first thing that I think is really important. Is just, for me, it was knowing Catherine wouldn't be telling me this if she was planning to continue this. And the fact that she was being open about it gave me so much trust in her from the start. And so I think acknowledging that is important. And then the second thing is just responding with love and making it a safe place for her to share these types of things with me in the future.
And it's hard to know how you would respond to something like that because it is shocking. But even, I think, if this hasn't happened in your marriage, I think taking some quiet time to think, how would I respond to this? Am I a safe place for my spouse to come and tell me that I have an addiction to drugs, that I have an addiction to pornography, that I've been stealing money, that I've been, like, whatever it is, am I a safe place for my spouse to come and tell me?
And responding and figuring out now, like, how will I respond, so that you can plan it in advance, because in the moment, your emotions are all over the place. Like, having control of your emotions is such a hard thing, let alone when it's something that's very personal to you. So taking time to decide, okay, what if my spouse came to me with a pornography addiction? What if my spouse had a sexual affair? What if my spouse had an emotional affair? What if my spouse is flirting with somebody at work? All of those things, and deciding what is the ideal way that I would respond, so that you can plan ahead and you're not totally caught off guard, even though you'll feel like you're caught off guard.
Still will be, yeah.
But that can help, because you want it to be a safe place.
Yeah.
And if you respond with a lot of animosity, or like really communicate that, like, hey, you screwed up, like, super bad, like, if you respond without love, the likelihood of them sharing openly in the future goes down.
And I think something that's important to recognize too is that sometimes you can be seeking out those emotional relationships without knowing it. Sometimes you can do it knowingly, but I think it can just sneak up on people. And I think that's what happened with me. I don't think Shane and I didn't connect. I don't think we were having a connection problem. I think we weren't probably spending enough time together because we were both really busy. But it just kind of sneaked up on me. And anyways, and so I think that could kind of help the person maybe receiving this information, that I wasn't looking for it. Like, oh my gosh, I need somebody else in my life. Like, Shane's so awful. I wasn't thinking that at all. It just snuck up on me. But anyway, so I wanted to tell Shane too, because I knew that sin grows in secrecy and affairs grow in secrecy. And if you're having this feeling of hiding something from your spouse, it's not good. Unless it's a surprise and you're going to give them a really awesome present, then that's a great thing. But if you're starting to feel nervous, or I just don't know if this is right, maybe it's a good idea to talk to them about it or talk to somebody about it. Because when you talk about it, you acknowledge it and you make it real. Like, this really is happening. Because it was easy in my head for a while to be like, maybe I'm reading into this. Like, maybe it's not what I think. Like, just because, like, that person's did that doesn't mean they like me. Maybe I'm, just thinking too highly of myself. But, like, once I said it, it really helped me realize how true it was, that it really was happening. And, like, how wonderful. Like, Shane and I are still together and we're really happy. And we started investing in each other more and, like, doing more together and, like, just working on, like, building our relationship, making sure we were laughing together, having fun together, and, like, making sure those needs were being met. But there's a lady named, I think it's Esther Purcell, but she has this really awesome talk called, I think it's a TED Talk called Rethinking Infidelity. And one of my favorite things in there is she says that if people put the amount of, like, passion and excitement that they put into an affair, if they put just 10% of that back in to their marriage would just blossom like crazy. And I just love that concept. Like, sometimes an affair, even if it's an emotional affair, it's exciting. Like, I have to admit, like, it was really fun to get that attention from those two men. Like, oh, like, still got it kind of a feeling. But, like, in the end, like, I don't care if I still got it for other people. Like, I only want to still have it for Shane. Like, that's what's important. Like, this unity, this intimacy is what I want more than any of that other stuff. But anyways, so that's our experience. That's our story. And we just wanted to share that. Yeah.